All right, welcome back to this next session in the How to Write Your Own Money-Making Websites program. So today, choosing a platform and domain name for your site. This is all fun stuff, some of it a little bit technical, another bit of a learning curve this week. I'm hoping that most of you have chosen your topic. That's what we were talking about last week, and there's some great discussions in the Facebook group and some really neat ideas for topics as well. And it was encouraging to see that, you know, a lot of people had figured out that they needed to find a kind of niche, and that there were some really interesting kind of niche ideas came out as well in the group. So really enjoyed that. All right, so moving forward, choosing a platform and domain name. So we need to get some terminology figured out and understood by everyone. So let's figure this out. We're going to talk about domain names. We're going to talk about hosting. We're going to talk about platforms. So what do I mean by this? A domain name is basically the top-level name of your website, like awai.com, nickosborne.com, cnbc.com. That's it. It's the home page. That is your domain name. And you will buy that through a company that is called a domain name registrar, like GoDaddy, though there are dozens of them. There are dozens of companies out there that are domain name registrars. So that's what we mean by that. Hosting. What is hosting? Hosting is where your website actually lives, the files for your website. So if we take nickosborne.com and say that it is hosted on Bluehost, what do I mean by that? It means that when I create the pages or create a new post or anything like that for nickosborne.com, yes, I have it on my computer, but I don't want the world to access the files from my laptop when they go to my website. So I sign up with Bluehost and I upload all my website files to Bluehost, which have all these server racks, thousands of servers there, and they host my website. Now, I can, and you can technically host your website from your own computer, but it's not a very good idea because your own computer is probably not nearly as secure as it needs to be from hackers and people like that. Also, if you have a power outage, which we had here last night for a couple of hours, then your website goes down. So hosting companies are the companies that where you create your website, you then upload, and in fact, once you set it up, it automatically uploads to your hosting company each time you add a page or edit anything. And that's where your website lives. It lives on their servers. And when for some wonderful reason, you're mentioned on the front page of some huge newspaper or website, and tens of thousands of people go to your website all at once, if you had your website hosted on your computer, then your computer would crash. But hopefully, because you're on Bluehost or some other hosting service, they're well able to take care of those kind of peaks in demand and activity. So that's a hosting company. So now we know what a registrar is. We know what a hosting company is. And then, well, what's a platform? I'm going to talk about a platform today. And the platform is the service you use to create and update your website or blog, like WordPress. So WordPress is a platform. nickosborne.com is built with WordPress. It's on WordPress. I log into my WordPress dashboard for nickosborne.com to make changes, to add blog posts, to upload images. And so that's it. Now, WordPress isn't the only web or blog creation platform out there. It's a very big one. About a third of the world's websites use WordPress to create and manage and edit and update their website. So it's certainly the biggest single platform for creating and managing and publishing your website. So that's the terminology we're going to be talking about today. So what does a platform actually kind of look like? So a couple here. Now, as most of you know, I think by now, I have a website about coffee, and it's called Coffee Detective. Coffee Detective is not hosted on WordPress. It's hosted on a platform called Solo Build It, or SBI. And you can see on the left there, that is basically a kind of the page for a particular page on my website which is a review of a particular drip brewer. So I go in there, I type in that headline, or I cut and paste that headline in, I upload that image. I'm going to upload the text. I'm going to cut and paste text in there. I'm going to create links in there, and that's the page on the Solo Build It platform where I'm creating or updating or editing a page. Now, and it's a fairly familiar look and feel in terms of web creation platforms. The one on the right, here's nickosborne.com. This is on WordPress. And although it's not identical to the Solo Build It version on the left, it's the same kind of deal. I got a space there to type in my headline. I can drop in an image. I can drop in my body text. I can create headings and subheads. I can add links. I can add videos. So whatever platform you're using, you'll go to create a page or create a post, and you'll have this kind of blank interface where you drop in headlines and images and body text and stuff like that. So that's how these things work. Each of these different platforms have a slightly different look and feel about the page. There will be variations in functionality. Things will happen in different ways. There's some functionality that is available on some platforms but not on others. But this is the kind of page you'll be looking at when you're creating pages or posts for your website or your blog, which brings us to another question when it comes to choosing a platform is when you create your website, is it going to be primarily a blog or primarily a website? So let me explain that. CoffeeDetective.com is primarily a website. It has a blog page where I have my updates and here's what's new and here's what's happening. But for the most part, Coffee Detective is not a blog. So what do I mean? What is the difference, the fundamental difference between a blog and a website? A blog really is, a blog page certainly is, it's like a journal. It's like a journal entry, right? Like blog posts generally are by default dated. Like here's my blog post from, this date. Here's my blog post from a week before. There's my blog post from the week before that. So it's almost like a journal. You're writing it in. You're publishing something. It's dated. It's time-stamped. And honestly, people kind of expect blog posts to be dated and time-stamped. You can turn that off. But some people it's a little bit strange. So that was the origin of blogging, is that people basically creating new content on a daily or weekly basis, and it appears like a journal entry on the web. That's how blogging started off, in fact, with a platform called Blogger, which is now owned by Google. So a regular website is like Coffee Detective, where you build basically static pages. I got a home page. I got a page on coffee makers. I got a home page on how to make coffee. I've got a page on, I've got these different categories, different areas. These are not blog posts. They're not dated or stamped. These are largely evergreen pages of information about different aspects of making, brewing, and enjoying and drinking your coffee. And there are lots of websites out there that you will find that are fairly static. They're not blog posts. They're just arrangements of permanent pages. That said, if you go to nickosborne.com or AWA, AWA I don't think actually has a blog as such. Maybe I'm wrong there. But if you go to nickosborne.com, you'll find a regular kind of home page and lots of areas of static page. But you'll also find in the navigation, one navigation link says blog. And you go there, and there are my latest blog posts. In that case, I haven't actually been doing as many as I should have done in recent months, but there you go. We fall behind sometimes. So when it comes to choosing, should you go primarily for a blog? Because a blog, like a classic blog, has the blog entries, the blog posts listed on the home page. You go there expecting to find the blog posts, not kind of a collection of static evergreen pages. So usually on a site that is primarily a blog, you'll see the blog posts on the home page. And they'll present them in various different ways, like our 4 latest posts, things like that. But basically, it's about featuring the home page, is about showcasing blog posts. Not the case on a regular website, where it could be, in my case, on Coffee Detective, I'm showcasing the most popular evergreen permanent pages on the site, like how to choose the best drip brewer or how to choose a single-serve coffee maker. These are not time sensitive or dated or anything. They're evergreen. In your case, which should you choose? Because it can impact the kind of platform that you decide on, that you select for your money-making website. And what I say to people is, so there are two things here. Actually, the line at the bottom here, are you going to be there every day? If you have the kind of topic where you're going to be updating on a regular, frequent basis, and there is some kind of timeliness to it. So let's say it's, certainly if it's related to sports, that is constantly moving. If it's related to financial markets, stuff changes every minute, let alone every day. It could be even something to do with, like, I don't know, vacations or resorts or places to visit where things are, today's update, like travel related. So if you feel that you have a topic that is very much about what's happening today, what's happening now, as opposed to an evergreen resource of a kind of content that doesn't change much over time, then, if you're into fast-changing, timely topics, timely content, then probably a blog. You could build your website primarily as a blog. If, like with making coffee, most of the there can be new stuff, like, hey, this is new, but mostly, what's the best temperature for serving coffee? That information will be the same today as it was last year, and it'll be the same 5 years from now. So it's not really a blogging thing, which is why Coffee Detective is not really a blog. It's primarily just a traditional www website. So moving on. The other thing to ask is, well, hang on, let me go back to that one. I'm fumbling a bit here. So timeliness, we're going to go for blog. We're going to say, okay, we're going to go for a blog. We're going to have our blog posts on the homepage. Not a blog, primarily a website. We're going to have evergreen content featured on our homepage. And like I said, this will be determined in part by the topic you're going for. Also, are you going to be there every day? Another factor, if you're going to say, oh, yes, my topic sounds like a blogging kind of topic. It's kind of timely, fast-moving. You've got to ask yourself, okay, but are you prepared for that commitment? Because I was saying on my nickosborne.com blog, I've been a bit naughty in terms of frequency of posting. And that's not a great thing, because when you are blogging, people have an expectation of, okay, you're going to put something up every week or every 2 weeks. Some people publish stuff several times a week. So there is that expectation that, hey, if you have a blog, it's because you have something to say on an ongoing, regular basis. And like I say, if that works for your topic, then yeah, maybe a blog is going to be great for you, because people like that. They like coming back to your site to see what's new, what you've updated, what you've posted recently. If you don't think that either through your topic or your schedule or your lifestyle that it's going to be reasonable for you to post something fresh once a week, then maybe if you're not going to be there all the time like that, then maybe the blogging emphasis will not be best for you. So the other thing to ask yourself when going for a platform is your platform going to help you be social? So certainly with with WordPress, there are all kinds of plugins, which I'll explain what that means in a minute, that allow you to plug in your social media accounts. You can have icons for people to click so they can share your content through their social media accounts. You can actually feature your Instagram account photos within WordPress. You can do the same with your tweets. You can do complete integration with social media. So again, ask yourself, is your topic going to be, are you going to do a lot of social media with your topic? Is it something you think is very shareable, that people are going to get excited about and share your content and comment on it and stuff like that? If that's the case, that can impact the platform you use. So let's say you want to do blogging. Let's say you have a topic where you think, I'm going to be updating this on a regular basis. I really want to kind of be there. I'm going to be doing kind of new posts at least once a week or once every 10 days. And I want people to come back regularly to look at my new post because they'll be interested to see what I have to say. So there are various platforms available if you want to create a blog. So I just put 4 here. There's WordPress, which, like I say, is the kind of dominant platform now. Under that is TypePad, which is a platform I used like probably 15 years ago, which is, hey, it was great. It was fine. But it doesn't offer the functionality you can get with WordPress these days. Same with Blogger. Blogger was the original blogging platform, still just hanging in there, owned by Google. But again, it's kind of, well, would you use Blogger? Well, why would you use Blogger if you can use WordPress? Because WordPress offers so much more. Same with Tumblr. Tumblr has, there are niche topics, and so there's a demographic and again, Tumblr was amazing and huge for a while, but not so much anymore. And basically, TypePad, Blogger, Tumblr, great, but not so much anymore. So honestly, if you wanted to choose a platform where you want to primarily create a blog, I would go for WordPress. I can't think of the only reason why I might say don't go with WordPress is that the learning curve is a little steeper. Because it offers more functionality, it'll take you a little extra time to get to know it, be familiar with it, and understand it. But to my mind, it's well worth that extra little learning curve. So moving on. I mentioned the two different platforms. So why am I only mentioning WordPress and Solo Build It? So WordPress is what I have, some of my sites on. Actually, I have all my sites on WordPress except for the coffee site, which is on Solo Build It. Why am I mentioning just two platforms? Aren't there tons of other platforms out there where you can build websites? And yes, you can. And when I was giving this training several years ago, I wanted to be kind of super agnostic about this and not pretend to be the big bully saying you should choose this or this. I just gave people a list of like 10 different platforms. And what happened is I got all this feedback from everyone saying, hey, Nick, appreciate you being, fair like that, giving everyone a fair shake, but actually not that useful to me. Can you please just give me a choice of one or two? So that's what I've been doing in recent years to make life simple. And I know that I would not be steering anyone wrong by saying go with WordPress or go with Solo Build It, SBI. Both are a little different. Solo Build It is kind of a weird outlier of a platform and service because it's been around for, 20 years now. And in a sense, it should have disappeared a long time ago. But it hasn't because it just has these amazing strengths. And I'll get into more of that in a while. So if you want to choose a website, go with Solo Build It, or, well, hang on, why am I saying WordPress? Because didn't I just say WordPress was for blogging? And I'll say, yes, WordPress is the best choice for blogging, definitely out of those two. But, and WordPress started off just as a blogging platform, but if you go into the dashboard on WordPress these days, you can create blog posts, but you'll also find a little link where it says pages, where you can create pages. So you can actually use WordPress to create a conventional website. So nickosborne.com is largely a conventional website. Yeah, I've got, dozens of different static pages. And the home page is not my blog. You have to actually go to the navigation and click on the blog link, and then you're taken to the blogging page. So you can actually do both with WordPress. You can create a blog and have the blog on the home page, or you can use WordPress to create a conventional website and build all these static pages, but still have a highly functional blog within that website that people can navigate to. So you can actually do anything you want pretty much with WordPress. Now, if you just want to go for, so why would you go with Solo Build It if you can do a website on WordPress? So there's all kinds of reasons here. But where I say at the bottom, NB, nota bene, to pay attention, SBI is a registrar, hosting service, and platform rolled into one. So a couple of things here. If you are going to if you're going to use Solo Build It, you're not going to buy your domain name at GoDaddy or anywhere else. You're not going to host your site at Bluehost or anywhere else, because the thing about Solo Build It is that you do everything within that one platform. So that means that if you buy a domain name today on GoDaddy and decide tomorrow to use Solo Build It, you've got a little bit of a problem on your hands, because you have to actually, to use Solo Build It, you have to register the domain within Solo Build It. You have to sign up, register the domain, and it's kind of soup to nuts all within Solo Build It. And that's going to include, like I say, the domain name, the hosting, the keyword research. We were talking about Uber Suggest. I'll show you in a minute that Solo Build It has its own keyword research tool. You're not going to have to find, if you want to have a newsletter, if you use WordPress, you're going to have to go out to a service like MailChimp or some other service, a third-party service to deliver your newsletters. Solo Build It, that's incorporated. WordPress, you're going to get a Google Analytics to plug in Google Analytics on your WordPress site for analytics so you can track traffic and what's happening. Solo Build It, that is included. So it's an interesting kind of choice here. Now, with both of them, there's a bit of a learning curve. And people ask me now, in fact, Pam, I think you may be listening in there somewhere, Pam. I think I saw your name. Pam asked me by email saying, hey, Nick, if you were going to do Coffee Detective again, would you go with WordPress or Solo Build It? And it's a tricky question. I think I said I would go with WordPress, but I'm not entirely sure. The thing with Solo Build It is that when it was created, right at the beginning, it was created with people like us in mind, money-making website creators. It is specifically for us. The tools in there are for us. And when I look at, I can do some research within Solo Build It to see how their websites do, although, the thousands of websites that are built on that platform. And they have a disproportionate number of websites that get a large amount of traffic. Just like I say, just the whole thing is optimized for people like us creating websites on topic that interests us. So it really is, like I say, I include these two because I can't think that I'm doing anyone a disservice by recommending either one. Whatever platform you choose, one of the kind of must-have things these days is that your site be responsive. In other words, your site has to work on not just a desktop machine, but also on a tablet, and also on a phone. Quick, Cameron, if you can hear me, I wonder if you can disable the questions and comments coming up on my screen. I keep getting distracted. I don't know whether that's possible. So you can see here the Coffee Detective site. On the left, that's what it looks like on a desktop machine. On the right, and you can tell with a website, go onto any website, put it on your browser, and then start dragging the right-hand margin of that browser page over to the left. And the behavior, the layout of the page should start changing. So at some point as you're pulling it over, the navigation you see on the left there, suddenly it disappears on that right-hand version, and under, in the header there, it says menu. So that means now it is responding to that different format, which means now I have a site that is responsive and is easy to view on a phone, which is important because Coffee Detective, overall over the course of a week, it changes a bit day by day in different times of day, whether people are at work or at home. But overall, I believe last time I looked, it was 65% of people access Coffee Detective on their phones. So well over half. So that's something to think about as well. Whatever you're doing with your website is make sure that it works well on a phone, because that's where a lot of people will be viewing it. Choosing a platform. Warning, don't host your site with a free website builder offered by domain registrars or hosting services. So sometimes you'll go to a site like, and again, I got nothing against GoDaddy. I'm actually a very long-standing loyal customer of GoDaddy. I have way too many domain names I've purchased through GoDaddy. But whenever I buy a domain name through GoDaddy, they are quick to ask me if I would like to use their site builder. And it's tempting because they usually offer it free or very low cost. And the answer when you come across that kind, and it won't just be GoDaddy, but often when you register a domain, it'll be a pop-up or an email or a new page or something saying, hey, congratulations, that's fantastic. Let's get started on a new website. Click here. Don't do that, because most of those platforms do not have that kind of broad functionality I've been describing that you'll find on WordPress or Solo Build It. The only exception here is that if you, let's say you're going to do WordPress and you need hosting, and let's say you're going to have your hosting at Bluehost, which is great. I have most of my sites hosted on Bluehost. In that case, your best bet actually is to, because Bluehost, as well as being a hosting company, is also a domain name registrar. So you can go to Bluehost and register your domain name, and then host your website on Bluehost. And if you're going to host on Bluehost, it does make life a little easier if you buy the domain name there. It's not a must-do. It's not a must-have. It just makes life a little easier. Now, you won't find a site builder there. You won't find a platform. You still have to go with WordPress or Solo Build It, or maybe there's some other platform that comes highly recommended to you by other people. So that's just a small point. But definitely, it is tempting when you buy a domain name to say yes, because they'll offer you this easy-peasy, low-cost site building option. And it's almost never going to serve you well when it comes to creating a money-making website. So choose the platform. The SBI option. So we have Price Sticker Shock here. All the tools, like I say, all the tools you need in one package, which is actually interesting, because the keyword research tool in Solo Build It is called Brainstorm It, and it's very, very good. It is a professional grade tool. It is as good as Uber suggests. It's as good as Word Tracker, which is kind of an industry benchmark. And like I say, you're getting your email delivery. You're getting everything all in one package. You're getting your hosting. You're getting your domain name. You're getting it all. And there's a price to that, $2.99 a year, and it is per year per website. And then people say, oh, well, in that case, I'll go with WordPress because WordPress is free. And yes, WordPress is free, except maybe you're going to want to add on to that MailChimp for your email. Maybe you're going to want to add on to that an outside keyword research tool. Hopefully Uber Suggest will hit the spot for you, because for now that is free. But there are no actual totally free options. There will be some bills to pay as you develop your money-making website. So that is the price, although because of my long history with SBI and AWAI's long history with SBI, if you use the link below here, the one at the bottom, you'll get $75 off. Not any existing SBI subscription you have, but a new yearly subscription. All right, so a bit of a sweetener there on the sticker cost. If you use WordPress is kind of weird, because it's a platform, but unless you're a complete tech geek, you don't want to just download WordPress and then start trying to build a website on it. What you need is a theme. And there are a zillion WordPress themes out there. And the theme really is this, I don't know, it's like using WordPress without a theme is like trying to access the internet without a web browser. You know, the theme just makes it more manageable and accessible and makes it possible to get stuff done. So everyone, pretty much 99% of us, download a theme. The theme I use is called Generate Press. I'm slightly biased because it's actually developed and created by my son, Thomas. But at the same time, it is one of the top WordPress themes in the world. He just happens to be, even in spite of being my son, he happens to be really, 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 really good at this. So you can actually use Generate Press. There's a free option you can download. So you can get WordPress is free. You can download Generate Press for free. There is an optional add-ons package, which is a whole bunch. Again, just makes life easier for $49.95 for $50. So that is an option. Now, maybe you or a friend or family member are familiar with some other wonderful themes out there, and there are lots of very good themes out there. But if you're not familiar with the space and you want a recommendation you can rely on, then you're good to go with GeneratePress. Like I say, it's what I use for, other than the coffee site, all my sites are on WordPress. They all use GeneratePress. So it's good enough for me. So once you've chosen your platform, we're going to come back to the ticklish question of keyword research. So with SBI, the Solo Build It, you get that included Brainstorm It tool, which, like I say, is definitely professional grade. It's really, really good. With WordPress, you got a couple of options. In fact, Solo Build It, being aware that WordPress might eat its lunch, might steal its prospective customers, and also being aware of the value of some of its tools, like the keyword research tool, Brainstorm It, is that if you have WordPress, you can actually download a WordPress plugin for some of that SBI functionality, including that keyword research tool. It's not free, but it's about half the price of going with Site Build It as your platform. So you can go pay the full price minus the 70 for Site Build It as your platform, or you can go with WordPress and download the SBI plugin. It'll give you that keyword research tool, among other things, at about half that price. Or if you're going with, I told you this was a bit of a learning curve, a bit of a brain twister this week, or if you're going with WordPress and want nothing to do with SBI, then keep using Uber Suggest, all right, which for now is free. It's very good. It serves our purposes very well. So that's a good option. Okay, so on to choosing a domain name. And like I was saying, I buy a lot of my domain names at GoDaddy because some of my domain names I buy just, I probably shouldn't. I got way too many. I just think, oh, that's really good. I might use that. And then I buy it, and then I look at it a year later and think, what was I thinking? So GoDaddy is really good as a domain name registrar. But like I say, if you're actually going to have a WordPress site and you're looking for a host, then Bluehost I think is good. There are plenty of other hosting sites, but if you want a recommendation, I'd say Bluehost. There's no, I don't profit from it. There's no affiliate arrangement or anything like that. I'm just saying that's what I use, and it works for me. If you're going to use Bluehost with WordPress, then yes, buy your domain name through Bluehost. It just makes it's a little more seamless. It's a little easier if you have your hosting and your domain name registrar within the same company. So what kind of name should you come up with for your domain name? And I know some of you have been sharing some ideas on the Facebook page. And also, I know some of you are frustrated because you come up with a domain name and you go to a domain name registrar like GoDaddy, and then you suddenly realize that, oh my goodness, someone else has it, and you try another one and someone else has that. And that these days is the nature of the beast. There's a lot of people, a lot of websites out there, and a lot of people are trying to come up with original names for their websites. So it can be frustrating. So when I say keep your domain name short, sometimes that's easier said than done, because most of the really good, really short ones have already been taken. But when I say keep it short, that usually means these days probably a good 2 or maybe 3 words. 3 words, 3 or 4 words. Longer than that, and it starts getting a little long. You do want to keep it short as you reasonably can. The hyphen thing. People say to me, oh, best boats is taken. Should I buy best hyphen boats? No, because whenever people hear or read about the Best Boats website, they're going to type in bestboats.com, aren't they? They're not going to think about hyphens. And so all your traffic or potential, that potential referral traffic will go to your competition. So if someone already has a domain name, don't just come up with a version with a hyphen. Because in fact, for a large part, you are going to be giving traffic to the person who owns the non-hyphenated version. then someone will say to me, "Oh, but Nick, I read in a search engine forum that it's a really good idea to have a hyphen in a name so that Google can check out the keywords." If I say best coffee makers, with the hyphen there, Google can see that the top key phrase for the entire website is best coffee makers. So two things here. One is that, sure, if you can have the topic of your website expressed in the words of your domain name, that can definitely give you an advantage. Like if you typed in Coffee Detective, you'd probably find Coffee Detective is the first result on that page. So if you can get a phrase that will bring you traffic, so much the better, because for sure Google takes note of your domain name, the words in your domain name. So that good friend of yours who said you have to have the hyphen in there so that Google can separate best and coffee maker, well, your friend is about 15 years out of date. It's been a long time since Google's bot became sophisticated enough to recognize separate words in a domain name without the benefit of the hyphen. In 1996, that would be good advice because actually Google wasn't around in 1996, but again, search engines in 1996 couldn't separate out or parse separate words in a domain name without hyphenation to help them. That is no longer the case. It hasn't been the case for 15 years. And if you read that or that is recommended to you, just ignore that advice and probably then ignore everything else that person says. Because I still hear that, but it is so wildly out of date. It's nuts. Also, when you put hyphens in a domain name, because it's been so long since that was a necessary or recommended option, because it's been so long, then you're immediately just making yourself look really old-fashioned and old school and weird. Think of your top favorite websites, and I bet you none of them have hyphens in the domain name. So hyphens are not necessary, they're not desirable, and I would strongly recommend against them. I haven't owned a hyphenated domain name. Actually, I don't think I've owned one ever. And I'd slap myself if I bought one today because it's just not a smart thing to do. So, descriptive or memorable. Definitely, you want to see if you can come up with a domain name that is, well, one, I think it should be descriptive in the sense that if I have a website about coffee, it's a pretty good thing to have the word coffee in the domain name. It's like, hey, this is what it's about. If I'm going to have a website about some aspect of gardening, it might be a cool idea to have the word garden as one of the words in your domain name. But also memorable, if it's catchy, and I'm going to show you some examples in a moment. If it kind of catches the imagination, if it's memorable, if you hear it on, here's a test for you. I listen to podcasts sometimes if I'm walking or cycling or at the gym or something. And sometimes in the podcast, there is a reference to a domain name. And 9 times out of 10, I always think, okay, I'll remember that. But of course I don't. It's the nature of podcasts is they're kind of, they're there and then they're gone. And then if I remember, I'll try and find the show notes and see if they reference that domain name. But every now and again, there's a domain name mentioned where I do remember it because it's catchy, it's memorable, it's interesting. So if you can go for that, that's great. Keyword phrases, yes, to some degree. But sometimes people will go nuts on keyword research tools like Ubersuggest, looking for a key phrase they can then use as their domain name. And that can work out just fine, but be careful because sometimes you'll come up with a phrase that either, let's say you suddenly, and it's no longer the case, let's say best coffee makers was amazing. And so you called your website Best Coffee Makers. You got to be careful because if that really is going to be your niche forever, great. But if you're going to think, hang on, somewhere down the road, I want to do coffee reviews, I want to talk about espresso machines, I want to talk about different coffees, I want to talk about making coffee, then all of a sudden you're going to find yourself constrained by that wonderful optimized, keyword optimized domain names because it just says best coffee makers. It's saying this site is about the best coffee makers. And now all of a sudden it's not descriptive of what you actually want the website to become. So be a little bit careful in that regard. Also, some really good, strong keywords, phrases are kind of weird. They're kind of unexpected. I'm trying to think of an example. But sometimes you can optimize a page for a phrase that sounds a little odd. And that can be okay. But if you make it your domain name and it's a weird phrase so that when people read it, their kind of eyebrow goes up and say, what does that mean? What is that? So basically, my advice is that you create your domain name for your human readers. If that phrase happens to be good in terms of keyword research, great. But always primarily create your domain name not for the search engines, but for the readers. Yes, make it relevant. Like Coffee Detective it's got the word coffee in there. Clearly the website is about coffee. The phrase Coffee Detective, is that a keyword research? Is that a wonderful? No, nobody actually, if they've never heard of the site, nobody ever types in Coffee Detective as a keyword. It's written for the reader. It's not written for the search engines. So you just got to find a balance there. So here are some examples of domain names, good and bad. Most of the top 4 are mine. The last one isn't. So Coffee Detective. Is it a good domain name? It's not bad. It's 2 words. It's reasonably memorable. If it was mentioned on a radio show or on a podcast, you could probably remember Coffee Detective. Nice and short. Detective, I guess what it's implying there is we're going to kind of dig up stuff, find the truth, investigate or something. So it's got that sense. But the most important thing about Coffee Detective is it's just 2 words, and the first word is coffee, so everyone knows this is a site about coffee, and it's reasonably memorable. Next one, freelance writing success. The website, I had that for years. Not anymore. It's defunct, deceased, gone. Originally, when I created that site, I wanted to call it freelancewriting.com, but it was taken. So I had to add a word. So I had to create I wanted it to be about freelance writing. So I had to I didn't hyphenate it, but I added a 3rd word, and I added a 3rd word that gave it a positive spin, like success. So sometimes you'll do that. You'll be coming up with a domain name. It'll be a couple of words long, and you think, oh man, it's taken. And one way of dealing with that is ask yourself the question, can I add a word to the end where the domain name is now available? And in fact, thinking of that as I think back, is freelance writing success a compromise? Is it second best, or is it actually better than freelancewriting.com? I think it might be. I think it might be just simply because there's a promise in the word success. It's not just about freelance writing. It's about being successful in freelance writing. So here's one of the cases where actually I know originally I wanted freelance writing, but I think in fact the addition of that word adds value. It makes that a better domain name. Number 3, Excess Voice. So excessvoice.com was my web copywriting website. Again, now defunct, but it was the principal home of all my blog posts and writing about web copywriting. It was my freelance website as well. So excessvoice.com, terrible, truly terrible website name. And that came about for all the wrong reasons. So I mentioned before that my son Thomas is the creator of the Generate Press theme for WordPress. And back when he was little, like 5, 6 years old, I'd take him up to bed, I'd read him a story, and then it was time to tuck him in, and he would not stop talking. He was like a talking machine. And I was, I'd read all the books on good parenting, so I was super patient and sat there forever while he just went on and on and on about nothing in particular. And then occasionally, one time I got a little impatient. I said, Thomas, just stop with the talking, just go to sleep. And he said, Dad, I can't help it, he said, this time of night, he said, I'm filled with excess voice, and I can't go to sleep until I let it all out. And I just thought that was so cute, the idea of this little kid being filled with excess voice. And at that time, I was just trying to come up with a domain name for this new website I had in mind, so I called it accessvoice.com, which is the worst possible reason to choose a domain name, just purely just an emotional, from me, terrible. But there you go. But the site did fine for years, but it really was a bad domain name because it says nothing. Access Voice says nothing. It gives you no clue as to what the website is about. So number 4, bad plastics. I've mentioned this before, and that's a website that is still up there, but I haven't touched it in years. I probably should have done, and it's a pretty good domain name, Bad Plastics, because it was all about bad plastics in the home. It was about potential toxicity of the plastics in your kitchen and in your bathroom and the stuff your little kids were sticking in their mouths, and about how plastics had these nasty chemicals in them. And in fact, if I kept at it and expanded it, I could now use it to also talk about, plastics in the environment, plastic bags, plastic pollution, plastics in the oceans. I could have built bad plastics into something much bigger. It didn't actually appeal to me to do that, so I didn't do that. But a pretty good domain name. Interesting thing on that domain name, I actually had somebody wrote to me one day. He'd been to the Bad Plastics website, and he was surprised by what he found there. And I was like, how come? He said, I thought it was about credit cards. I thought it was about bad plastics was about, that you shouldn't have too many credit cards and run up too much debt. And I thought, wow, that's interesting, because that had never, ever, ever occurred to me that someone might think bad plastics is about credit cards. So again, when you have an idea for your domain name, ask in the group site, ask your friends, ask family, ask colleagues, ask strangers. Like when you read this domain name, what do you think the site's about? What jumps to mind? Because sometimes we get really close to something, like I did with bad plastics, and I think it's clear that it's about one thing, but this other guy, and I'm sure he wasn't alone, thought it was about something completely different. If I'd taken the time to go onto some group or ask friends about, hey, what do you think is Access Voice for my freelance online copywriting site, that I said, it's terrible. It's a terrible domain name. And I'd have hopefully thought twice about it. So I think this is a really good point where it's, once you choose a domain name and you set your domain name, website up under that domain name, it's not one of those things you can change. If you want to change the domain name, you have to change everything. Hey, you can still use the content, but that site is now dead. It's not. It's the only thing that you can't edit is your domain name. So when you're choosing it, think carefully about it. Look for a phrase that's going to work well for you, and do get some third-party opinions on it, just in case there's some ambiguity there that you hadn't anticipated. So the last one, not mine, and this kind of breaks some of my rules, I think. And in fact, it's by a former student of this course. She wanted to write a website on basically travel for single women aged 50 years and over. All right? So it was all about, hey, it's like kind of a boomer girlfriend travel site, going off on slightly adventurous trips, like not resort trips, but slightly adventurous trips with your girlfriends when you're over 50. So there's all kinds of ways she could have described that. She could have called it, I don't know, boomer travel, or mind you, it was kind of, I don't know, boomergirlfriendstravel.com. She could have just been descriptive. What she actually wrote was luggageandlipstick.com, which is really interesting because I find it much more definitely memorable. It paints a picture in your mind. It invites you to fill in the gaps. It's like when you read it, you can picture like luggage. And I always picture old school luggage, like an old leather suitcase. So it's about luggage. So luggage implies travel. Lipstick implies female. And it just paints this picture in your mind. So that I've always found, it's always stuck out with me. Like there've been like over 1,000 different domain names have been created over the course of me teaching this program over the years. And of all the domains, I think that's the one that really stuck out in my mind as being really, really good, but almost in an unexpected way. It's not descriptive in terms of describing. It's descriptive in terms of the pictures it evokes in your mind. And I think that as writers, we need to be mindful of that when you evoke something in the reader's, in the viewer's mind, it's super powerful, because now all of a sudden they've created the picture. You haven't described it for them. They've created the picture in their own mind. And that, I think, is super strong. Copyright problems. I don't obsess about this at all. Some people do. But if you get at uspto.com, you can type in your domain name idea and see if you might be treading on some large company's toes. So if, for instance, you came up with a domain name saying Coca-Cola sucks, you might have a problem. Back in the early days, when Keurig Brewers first came out, and they had this incredibly generous affiliate program where they would send me like $45 every time I referred a buyer to them. I'd get a commission of $45 per Keurig brewer. And back then, Keurig was incredibly unsophisticated in terms of online marketing. So I went out, and they owned Keurig.com, but pretty much every other Keurig domain name I owned. Like, so Keurig Brewers, K-Cup Brewers, the different models at the time, Keurig B40, Keurig B60, Keurig B70. I owned them all. And I built a one-page website for all of those different domain names. And I would just dominate the first page of Google search whenever anyone searched for anything to do with Keurig. I was always way above their homepage. Sometimes I was all 10 answers on. So I absolutely made out like a bandit for a couple of years. And then finally they kind of woke up and figured stuff out and got a little smarter. And I got a letter from their lawyers gently suggesting I might want to cease and desist using their copyrighted company name and product names as domain names, because I had no right to them. I mean, I'd purchased them as domain names because they hadn't thought to, which they should have done. Fortunately, it was fine, and we came to a little arrangement, and they kind of paid me to go away and disappear and stop being bad. Actually, they paid me in brewers. I think we had about 20 brewers turn up at our front door. Anyway, if you are concerned, like, obviously don't pick someone's brand name. I got away with it because it was a zillion years ago, and all of us were kind of feeling our way into the business then. Obviously, don't steal what you know to be another company name or brand name or obvious product name. And most of the time, the domain name you come up with won't be a problem. If you are nervous, go to this site or a site like it and see if you might be treading on somebody's toes. The next thing, and I could actually do like a whole session on this because I think it's a weak spot for a lot of money-making websites, and that is design. So the design and presentation of the page. Things like the Generate Press theme for WordPress or Solo Build It, they will, they offer you some templates, they kind of look and feel. So you can usually out of the gate have a website where the presentation, the organization of the information looks pretty smooth and nice and professional. Where a lot of people fall down when making money-making websites is the logo they come up with. So the Coffee Detective logo, that is actually something like the 5th iteration of that. It started off with that picture. As a fact, that image of the guy in the hat. My wife took that photo. That's me in a top hat. My wife took a photograph, and then she managed the image. But the very original version was great when we put it up. And then it's like website look and feel logos. There's kind of it's almost like a fashion thing. After a few years, they look out of date. That's why companies sometimes update their logos. So that's probably about the 3rd version of the Coffee Detective logo. And I really like it, and I think it'll be good for years to come. But it's still based on that photograph my wife took 13 years ago. So there's been a consistency. It's just that the logo itself has evolved. But, I think that's a pretty nice-looking logo, and you need a pretty nice-looking logo for your website, too. So there are various places you can go to, like 99 Designs, Design Crowd, Freelancer.com, Fiverr, Fiverr.com, places like that, and you can get logos designed. Or you can go to a site like logojoy.com, and there are others like it where you just type in that, my website is about travel, and this is my website name, and they will automatically create a whole bunch of different logos for you. Some of them are awful, but maybe you'll strike it lucky. Maybe one of those services will spit out something that looks pretty good. Things like 99 Designs, Design Crowd, you're talking about hundreds of dollars. That's a much bigger investment. Something like Fiverr.com, where you can actually get a logo design for $5 or $10 or $15. Again, it's the kind of thing where you give them a brief, maybe show them, hey, here are 5 logos I really like, the look and feel of, and here's my domain name, here's my website name. And for $5, $10, $15, sometimes you'll get something reasonable. When I'm using something like Fiverr, and I know that it's kind of touch and go, maybe I'll get something half decent, maybe not. And I've used Fiverr before, Fiverr.com. I'll usually ask I'll go through, you can search on Fiverr for logo creators. I'll look at the kind of work they're doing. I'll say, okay, I like that person, that person, that person. I'll probably put it out to 3 different people. And I'll pay each of them $10 or $15. And then hopefully out of the versions that all of the 3 combined, I'll find one that I think, okay, that's good. The final thing I would say is, do you see the depth of the Coffee Detective logo? That can slide into the header area of a website, and it's not too deep from top to bottom. Now, I'm looking at it on my screen, my monitor, maybe it's a little less than an inch in height, a couple of centimeters in height. So that means my header area can be fairly shallow. It doesn't take up too much of the real estate of the page. One of the things I see when people create the first version of their website, money-making website, is the header area is too deep. That logo is too big. It takes up too much space. So that when I bring up the your website on the page, all of a sudden half the screen is taken up by the logo and the header area. You don't want to do that. Go have a look at your 20 favorite websites, and you'll find that very little real estate at the top of the screen is taken up with the logo. You want something that you want a logo that will survive in a fairly narrow space at the top of the page, because that's not a good use of the screen. And particularly if you get into mobile, you don't want the entire first screen of the phone to be taken up with your header. You want to be able to, you want people to be able to see the good stuff that you have to offer under there. So try LogoJoy, try Fiverr.com, or if you have the budget, get yourself a real professional designer through one of those 3 other options. So conclusions. Choose a platform that allows you to grow your site indefinitely. So WordPress is like that, SoloBuild is like that. Some of those platforms that the company registrars and others saying, hey, easy peasy, overnight, build your website here. Some of those don't allow you to grow indefinitely. Or if they do, they get really expensive. Like the first 15 pages is free, and then you start paying a surcharge up to 50 pages, and then an extra surcharge when you exceed 100 pages. And that's not cool, because the money-making website model depends on creating lots and lots of pages. So just, choose a platform. I would highly recommend one of the 2 that I've suggested. There are others that people have used successfully, but if you want a simple choice, go with that. Make sure you can make it social, that it's a platform that allows for social media plugins or add-ons so that you can take full advantage of social media. Keep your domain name simple and memorable. No hyphens, please. One other thing to remember, let's say Coffee Detective. I could have registered Coffee Detective all in lowercase, all in capital letters. I could have capitalized the C of coffee, capitalized the D of detective. That's fine. A domain name takes no notice of upper and lowercase. Doesn't matter. Whatever, you can type in Coffee Detective with the 2 E's in capital letters, and you'll still arrive at coffeedetective.com. It ignores it. Any page within Coffee Detective, if I have coffeedetective.com/brewers, the word brewers is case sensitive. So if it's all lowercase, I'll go to the brewers page. if I accidentally type in B, a capital B for Brewers, and that's not the address of that page, I won't go to that page. So domain names, you can do what you like, upper and lowercase. Any other pages that follow on, you can't. They're very sensitive to upper or lowercase. Anyway, keep your domain names simple and memorable. And that's it. Thank you for listening to this part. If you need to get back to me, you can get back to me there, but primarily through the Facebook group, which is where we're all kind of going back and forth. Right, so that's it for the formal part of the presentation. And now, Cameron, if we have some questions, and I think we do, I've seen some popping up, if you can start throwing them my way, we'll dig in.
Absolutely. So we do have some questions here. Let me just get over to that tab. I had gotten booted off the event a moment ago, so I'm back. I see, yeah, the questions are here for me, though. So let's see. Sandra said that the section we were at earlier was very helpful. Diana's wondering why AWAI switched from promoting SBI to promoting SBI for WordPress.
Say that again.
It looks like you've switched from promoting SBI to now promoting SBI for WordPress.
No, what we're doing is we're promoting two principal options. One is WordPress, the other is SBI. However, a third option is to go with WordPress, but then you can use the SBI plugin for WordPress, which gives you that brainstorm it tool. It gives you that very high-level keyword research tool that you can use now for your WordPress website. So we're just providing options. We're not necessarily recommending one. We're definitely not recommending one over another. Just mix and match as it works for you.
All right, great. That's really helpful. Thank you for clarifying. Melinda uses GoDaddy for everything. She bought a web building site hosted on GoDaddy. They have a blog platform on the website, so she can do both plus other features. She's not sure if all the features are there yet, but is all-in-one a good thing for those of us who want an easy build out?
I used the blog builder, this website building tool on GoDaddy many years ago for a small project, and it was a small project. It was just 5 pages, and it had a kind of shelf life of a few months, and it was fine. But at the time when I was looking at it, I was thinking, oh man, this would be a very bad place to go if I was really serious about building out a big website in the long term. That said, in fairness to GoDaddy and others, I haven't used that tool in probably close to 10 years now. Maybe it's better. There are, like I said, there are all kinds of other options out there. I generally tend to shy away from those all-in-one kind of, now that you've purchased your domain name, jump in and use our wonderful builder. I tend to be cautious about them. But like I say, I haven't used the GoDaddy one in years, so it would be wrong of me to say, no, it's bad. All I'm going to say is I can't recommend it, because I know when I did use it all those years ago, it was not up to the task we have as money-making website builders. Maybe it's better now. I don't know. I can recommend WordPress and SBI reservedly. And I know that there are other options out there you choose, but I don't know any of them well enough to be able to offer my personal endorsement, as it were. Still there? Lost me?
I'm sorry. I was muted. Thank you for that answer. I was already halfway through this next question. So Sharon is asking, you say the Google AdWords references are all taken care of. She's wondering what that means. She was just reading part 2 today, and there was a whole section about Google AdWords.
Right. I said we're working on that. In terms, it's not Google AdWords that we need to get rid of, or Google AdSense that we need to get rid of. It's what we're trying to take out of the course materials right now is reference to the Google AdWords Keywords Research Tool. That tool used to be okay. It was never great for our purposes. Now it's not even really okay. And also they're getting sneaky and they are making it really easy for people to accidentally spend money just in order to get to that tool. They're making you open an account. They're strongly encouraging you to put money into the account. And we have had one instance of a member of this group, in fact not this group, but a couple of years ago, last year, who accidentally spent a whole bunch of money with Google without realizing it. She thought she was just using the research tool. So for that reason, we no longer recommend the Google AdWords Keyword Research Tool, and we recommend Neil Patel's Uber Suggest. Now, there are other references to Google, to AdWords, and to Google AdSense. There are other references in the program materials that will remain. It's just that keyword research tool reference we're in the process of removing right now. It's not all done. I know that there's people actually looking at that today.
Okay, great. Here's a quick question. Do you need to trademark your domain name?
No. I mean, if you're Coca-Cola, probably yes. But I'm not sure why I would. Let's say Coffee Detective. If somebody came up with a coffee company and they wanted to call it Coffee Detective, then I have no trademark protection on the phrase Coffee Detective. So they could do that. They could call their coffee roasting company Coffee Detective, but they'd be kind of foolish to do it because every time anyone searched for Coffee Detective, they'd end up at my site and not theirs.
Right.
So it's not. There's a potential for a problem, but it's not a problem that I think would actually be a problem for me. So no, I've never trademarked anything like that. And also, you probably have a reasonable case, even without a formal trademark, that you do have copyright on it. As soon as at the bottom of Coffee Detective, nickosborne.com, AWAI, you'll find a little line that says copyright awai.com with a little C in the circle for copyright, which is great. We'll do it. We'll put it on our websites. You don't actually, in law, need to. As soon as you write something and you can demonstrate that you wrote it, it is automatically protected by copyright law. If I write a book, it is protected by copyright law. I don't have little C's in circles all over a book that I write. It's just embedded in the law. So I do have copyright protection on what I write on my websites, but I don't trademark domain names.
Okay. Here's a cool question. I haven't heard one like this. Mike is looking to build a website that supports both a public section that anyone can get to and a private section, which, Mike, I'm assuming you mean a place where like members or people would log in. He's wondering if WordPress and SBI supports that type of site.
Yes. No, it does. I'm not sure about Seller Build It. Absolutely, definitely with WordPress. There are membership plugins. I said I'd explain earlier what a plugin is. A plugin is like an additional functionality that you can add to WordPress. WordPress is this fantastic base platform. So first of all, you add a theme to it, like GeneratePress. That gives you a layer on top of the basic platform that makes it much easier for you to create and design your website. Then, if you want added functionality, you can have all these different plugins. So you can have an SEO plugin, like the Yoast, Y-O-A-S-T, Yoast plugin that you plug into your WordPress site. There are membership plugins. There are all kinds of different. There's thousands, there's millions of plugins that people have written and created. Some of them are free, some of them are not free. Hey, if you want to add MailChimp as for your newsletters, there's a MailChimp plugin for WordPress. But yes, back to that question. Definitely, there are membership plugins for WordPress. I can't remember. I'm not sure with Solar Build It. You'd have to research it. But I might, if I was doing that, that might be something that would tip the scales for me to say, okay, I'll go with WordPress on this one, because I know for sure that I'll have all kinds of options when it comes to membership plugins.
Okay, great. So I'm going back up to the top of the list here, guys. If I do still have about 30 questions that are in here that are not answered yet, so bear with me if I have not answered your question. Let's see. The next one I have is from Sharon. How would a blog only, or primarily, how would a blog only make money? If you're doing or if it was primarily a blog site, how would you turn that into a money-making thing?
No difference from a regular website in terms of monetization. We'll get to this in a future session about monetizing your site. But let's say you were going to put Google AdSense ads. So not Google AdWords, Google AdSense. This is advertising that Google AdSense is the Google Advertising Network. You can sign up, you put a little code on your site, and Google Ads will appear on your site. And they will just as happily appear in a blog post as they do on a static page. So that's really not an issue. You can just as easily monetize either way.
Okay, thank you. And the next question I have is from Eric. Should we be updating our static pages with the same frequency as our blogs? Is it as important to have hundreds of static pages if they're also blogging?
No, if you're primarily blogging, you often don't have to have a ton of static pages. You can have an about page, a services page, a privacy page, stuff like that, a few pages that are static web pages. But if you're consistently blogging, if your content is primarily in your blog, that's fine. Go for it. So, hey, do you want to change your about page? Maybe you do sometimes. And I was doing a review of my Coffee Detective website a year ago. I thought, it's time, it's been a while. So I went back to a lot of my pages, and I thought, oh, man, I can improve on this. I can add some extra images. I can add a little extra, a few extra words. I can turn that little subhead into, more of a proper subheading with an H2 tag, which you'll learn about. So I was just upgrading the quality of pages. So you can do that. But if I have something that is primarily a blog, then yes, I'll have maybe just 4 or 5 static pages, like that about page, the services page, privacy page. But otherwise, I'm just consistently creating blog posts. Might I go back and revise some blog posts? I might. I probably wouldn't feel a huge urgency to do that. But no, I don't often go back and change an existing blog post. I'm just moving forward and creating the next one.
Okay, great. And in regards to the GeneratePress theme, can you use it for more than one site at the same cost?
Oh, you'd have to dig in a bit. Certainly, the free one you can download as often as you like. I'm not sure for the paid version, the $49, when you're buying the add-ons. I'm not sure whether you can apply that to multiple sites. But just to poke around the site, and there's if you're not sure, there's an FAQ, and if you're not sure about that, then do a customer service thing, and Thomas will get back to you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Barbara was researching domain names with GoDaddy. They said some of them were, quote, great because they had strong keywords, they were unique, they had 15 characters or less, and they had widely used words. Should she be aiming for one that includes all of those descriptions?
So I think what she's referring to is when you put in a domain name on GoDaddy and it's available, over on the right-hand side, they give you 3 reasons why this is a really spiffy, wonderful domain name. I pretty much ignore that because I know why they put it up there, because they put it up there because they want you to buy the domain name. So they'll give you 3 reasons why it's a great domain name. So it's really not a very trustworthy source of data on the quality of a domain name. Because basically, pretty much any domain name you put in that's available, they'll come up with 3 reasons why it's a really good domain name. Because they want to sell it, so that's what they do. So I just ignore all that stuff GoDaddy says on the right-hand side there when I'm finding domain names.
All right, that makes sense. Thank you. Kim is asking, does SBI offer the ability to do a blog page within a regular website and the links to social media?
Yes, it's social media friendly. They have a not very good blogging option.
Okay.
Basically, it's so if you go to Coffee Detective and you use the navigation on the top, you'll find over on the left-hand side you'll find a link to the blog. If you go there, you'll see what I mean. It's just a very brief introduction to a page on the site. So they call it a blogging functionality, but no, I would not choose if I wanted a strong blogging element within my creation, I would go with WordPress. If I want my site to be basically static, regular web pages, there's a lot of reasons why I would still choose SBI. But definitely, if blogging was going to be a significant part of it, I mean, that's why sites like, my nickosborne.com site, my conversationalcopywriting.com site, they're all on WordPress because they all have blogs, they all have blogging pages.
Right. Okay, cool. And Steven's asking if we still get $75 off Solo Build It. He said yesterday AWA was showing $50 off of SBI for WordPress, but no discount for Solo Build It itself.
Oh, as far as I know, that offer is still valid. I clicked on the link and I tested the link and it still seemed to be live. If somebody tries it and it doesn't work, get back to us and we'll look into it.
Okay, great.
I didn't actually go through the process and buy it. I just clicked it to make sure the link was still live and taking us to a page where the offer was still active.
Okay, good. I'm sure it works. If not, guys, definitely contact member services and they will make sure that it gets corrected. Another question, if I build my site on WordPress and use SBI for WordPress, what happens if a year down the road I don't want to renew my yearly subscription to SBI? Do I have to start over with my website?
No. So the thing with a plugin is it plugs in, it plugs out. You can, if you use the SBI plugin for the SBI for WordPress plugin, in other words, you want that, particularly the keyword research tool. If after the first year you think, no, you know what, I'm not using that as much as I thought, it's not worth the money, then you just don't renew your subscription, and it's fine. That your website won't be impacted at all.
Okay, great. And a question here from Lisa is if she's thinking of using this class to create additional keyword-based sites to link back to her existing website to create her own backlinks. Can you speak a little about backlinking, or is that something we're going to do in another session?
We'll talk about that next week, but one thing I will say is, again, based on my own experience, is that I would encourage you to find one site to create. It's enough work to create one good site. It's often tempting to create a second and a third and a fourth, but unless you can do this full time, unless you're prepared to do this full time, all of a sudden you're finding you're not doing any of them particularly well. So I had Coffee Detective, I had Bad Plastics, I had Best Buys headphones or whatever it was, headphones, Best Buys, and I cut it all the way back to Coffee Detective because I realized that actually the only way I was going to win was to do one site really, really well. Now, that was because this has always been a side gig for me. I've always worked full-time, and I've done the Coffee Detective site, weekends, evenings, as a spare time gig. And if that's true for you, then I'd stick with one site. Now, if you're completely retired, if you've got all day, then by all means, you can build up more sites. But in terms of backlinks, which we'll talk about, I believe, next week or the week after next week, I think, Backlinks are super important, but what you're talking about is an incredibly hard way to generate backlinks. There are much better ways of doing it.
Okay, cool. Thank you. And next question I have is from Rita. Do WordPress themes have technical support, and are theme upgrades automatic?
Yes. So let's say you went with GeneratePress, and this is going to be true of other themes. But say Thomas's GeneratePress. Do you get customer support? Yes, you do. I think it's limited. If you go for the free version, it's limited support. If you do the paid thing, you get much better support. And what was the second half of that question? You get.
It was, are the plugins automatically updated?
Oh, right.
I think it sends you a message asking, and you have to click OK, update.
Yes. So when you go into your WordPress dashboard, first of all, you might see a message saying there is a new version of GeneratePress, and then you click on Update. So Thomas's theme, all themes, so long as they're doing a decent job, are constantly updating because they're adding improvements, or maybe they found a little glitch somewhere in the code. And so they update, and every time they update the code, it runs out and it updates on every website that is using that theme. By the same token, if you have plugins from MailChimp or a membership site or Yoast for SEO, those plugins are updated, and again, you'll see it on the dashboard. You'll see a little number come up next to your plugins. You click on the plugins, it'll show you all the different plugins that have an update, and you just click on Update, 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 Update. So
okay,
they will let you know when there are updates, but like Cameron said, it's up to you to actually click the button to make the update happen.
Right. Okay, good. So another question here, which, quote, must-have, end quote, WordPress plugins should our websites have? Do you have a list of must-have plugins for us?
I'd say the only must-have plugin that I immediately put, actually I do two. One is Yoast, Yoast, and that's the keyword research. It's the SEO plugin. Not because it's a great keyword research tool. It's not. It kind of pretends to be, but it's not. I don't use it for that. What it does is it helps me. It gives me forms to fill out for putting in my title tags. Again, we're going to talk about this, the title tag and the description and the keyword and things like that. And also it allows me to choose images for social media sharing, stuff like that. So I put Yoast as a plugin. The other plugin I immediately add if I'm starting a new WordPress site is called Akimset, I believe, Akimset. Although sometimes I get it wrong. And basically what it is it's a comment spam filter. You'll get all sorts of idiots spamming your comments. So one of the settings on the comment thing is do you want comments to be published automatically, or do you want to approve them first? And you're going to check the box that says approve first, because some people take advantage, and there are machines and bots out there that will automatically try to add comments to all your blog posts. The Akimset plugin is a filter. It's been around forever. And it basically filters out. If I go in and check on the plugin, it'll tell me, hey, Nick, since you started using us, we've filtered out 241,000 spammy comments that haven't appeared on your website as a result. So Yoast for SEO and Akimset for comment spam, those are the two that I immediately add.
Nice. All right. Rita's also wondering where to get good quality images for her site. She's not a photographer, so she's looking for a place to get images.
We will cover this in spades in session number 6.
All right. And one more that we might be talking about later, but is it ethical to hire writers to help me write articles for my site?
Sure it is. It's absolutely fine. The only question you have to ask yourself is, does the math work? If you pay a writer X dollars to write a page, how long will it take you to get that money back through advertising, affiliate links, or what other business model, what other monetization model you're using?
Right.
So long as the math works, it's fine. It's certainly perfectly ethical.
Okay. And do Do you recommend both GoDaddy and Bluehost?
If you're going to build a WordPress website, then, and if you want to just really make it easy on yourself and just say, I'm doing this because Nick says so, then if you're using WordPress, go to Bluehost. And if you're using WordPress on Bluehost, then buy your domain name at Bluehost and ignore GoDaddy. I tend, if I'm buying a domain name and I immediately know, hey, I'm going to build this into a website right now, I go straight to Bluehost and I buy the domain name. I use WordPress, I use Bluehost for the hosting, and it's all in that one place. If I'm buying domain names because I think, you know what, I might use that one day, then usually I go to GoDaddy because very often they have the best price. So there it just kind of sits there and I'm paying for it each year. The thing about domain names is that you'd never actually own it. You lease it. CNN doesn't own CNN.com. They lease it. If they stop paying the fee each year, they will lose it. Not immediately. You'll get warning emails. But yes, when you pay whatever it is for your domain name, it's something that repeats each year. Otherwise, you lose it.
Right, and a similar question from Derek in regards to domain name. He says, if I wanted to transfer my domain to another registrar, how would I do that? And you have to get with your registrar, but they'll walk you through all the steps.
Right. The only thing, so you can do that. You just, hey, do a Google search. How do I move my domain name from GoDaddy? Just type that into Google, and you'll very quickly find instructions. The only wrinkle there is that if your domain name was registered within the last, and I can't remember whether it's 30 days, 45 days, 90 days, but if I buy a domain name today, I cannot move it to another registrar tomorrow. I don't know why. There's a weird cooling off period. But if you bought a domain a year ago and you want to move it today, that's fine. You can do it like within 24 hours. Just go through the steps like Cameron says. See, Cameron knows this stuff because Cameron also has a money-making website all about chickens. Yeah.
Finally made one a couple of years ago.
Yeah, she's not just asking the questions here, you know. She's one of us.
I've done some of the work. I have yet to make my site profitable, but I also have not spent that much time on it. I'm guilty of that.
Baddie.
But it is beautiful, and people have asked me to build websites for them based on my site, so that's good.
It is a beautiful site. It's one of the first things I noticed is the design and look and feel. Come on, tell everyone the domain name so they can look at your site and how beautiful it is.
Oh, boy, and if you guys have suggestions, send them my way, too. It's urbanchickenfarm.com. So that's me. Next question that I have is from Janet. She's asking if Solo Build It also has themes to make it easier to build. She loves the Divi theme on WordPress.
Right. So it's not so much themes as kind of templates, different looks and feel. So like Coffee Detective, it used to be a 3-column website. It used to have navigation down the left-hand side. Now it's a 2-column website with navigation as tabs across the top and drop-downs. So there's all different configurations for the look and feel. There's these different templates that yes, you will find within Solo Builder. Does it have, like on WordPress, there are literally thousands of themes out there. They're not all very good ones, but there are thousands of options to choose from. You don't get that amount of choice with Solo Build It, but you certainly get enough choice to say, okay, this is the general layout and look and feel I'm looking for.
Gotcha. Okay. Somebody wrote in Namecheap.com is another alternative to Bluehost.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, it's another alternative to GoDaddy. It's a registrar.
Let's see. And so in the course book, you're writing about PageRank for the Google toolbar. Google has removed it. Is there a replacement process for checking the ranking of sites?
The page, God, you're going back a ways there with the little page rank thing. It's probably, if you, I just, it's not a metric that is no longer much of a thing. I think there are third-party tools that still try to approximate page rank. I'm not sure Google, in terms of official page rank, I'm not sure Google actually provides that information anymore. It used to be this quick indicator as to whether Google loved a site or not. You know, how much Google loved a site or how much Google loved a page within that site. They would rank it, you know, from 1 to 5, I believe. They no longer do that. And if other people still talk about PageRank, but I don't think there's official data coming out from Google on that anymore.
Okay. Karen has a 12-year-old website with 1 hyphen in it. It has around 200 pages and posts. Should she pick another simple domain name and set it to automatically transfer to the original, or will that confuse people?
Leave it as it is, but if you can buy the non-hyphenated version is available, buy it and then do a permanent redirect of that domain to your existing one. So leave your existing, if it's been around for all those years, leave it as it is. But if you can buy the non-hyphenated version, then yes, buy it. And then if people then redirect it so that it points at your existing website, so that if people ever type in the non-hyphenated version into their browser, it will redirect to your existing hyphenated version. So either way, they'll end up in the same place.
Okay, great. And yes, Derek, I think he's asking, is Google Sites one of those instant builder websites? I think it has a lot of things in it. It is one of those instant builders. Yeah,
I know what you mean. It's not on my kind of top 2 or 3 recommended list. But to be honest, I don't know. It's not. I haven't built a site there, so I don't know. But just from what I do know, I'm not hearing about it as a must go-to place for building a website. And just because it's Google doesn't give you any kind of advantage in terms of search.
Okay. Awesome. So I am just, we had some questions that I had people submit again, so I'm just making sure I don't ask the same one twice. Do you have an opinion on Wix?
Wix, W-I-C-K-S, or no, W-I-X.
Yeah, W-I-X.
Wix websites. Again, not enough experience, but again, it wouldn't be in my top 2 or 3. Well, you already know my top 2.
Okay.
But again, maybe it's okay. So the thing about a money-making website is it's got to give you this. So one of the things with both, if you're hosting your WordPress site on Bluehost, or if you have a seller build it, they don't care whether you have 1 page or 1,000 pages. Like I have like something like 1,400 pages on Coffee Detective on a seller build it. The price I pay each year is the same as if I had 3 pages. You got to be careful with that on some of these plans. You got to look at the plan, the description, because some site building tools will offer you this terrific deal, and then you suddenly realize, well, oh wow, that's only up to 50 pages. After that, it goes up a step. After 100 pages, it goes up a step. After 500 pages, it goes up a step. And all of a sudden, you realize that you've chosen a really expensive version. Because remember, with the money-making website, our plan over time is we just keep adding more and more content pages. That's where we're getting our traffic. So if you're using, and I'm not sure what the deal is with Wix, but if you're researching anything other than WordPress or Seller Build It, that is definitely one of the things to look for. Is there a surcharge based on number of pages?
Okay. And are you familiar with the Weebly platform? Joan is asking. She's familiar with it and has used it. She's just wondering how it stacks up against the ones that you're recommending, if you have any info on it.
I know of it. I don't have any direct experience of it. And that's the difficulty here. That's why I keep my recommendations so simple. What I will say about, the main reason I am happy recommending Solar Build It is because, like I say, it was designed and built specifically for our purposes, not for our group, but it was, when it was first created, it was created for people who want to monetize their knowledge and passion through building websites. So everything about it is exactly what we're looking for. The thing about WordPress is that it's open source. So WordPress as an organization create the base platform, but it's open source, which allows people like Thomas and thousands of others to create themes. And then it also allows thousands of other people to create plugins. So this is why over a third of the world's websites are on WordPress. Is there is such a massive support for the platform that whatever you want to do, whether it's a membership site or a store or whatever you want to do, there's a way of using WordPress to do that. Is because of these thousands of third-party supporters that are creating added functionality for the site. So whether it's Wix or Weebly or any other platform, none of them will actually be able to compete because they're all private platforms, closed platforms, and so whatever happens to those platforms are created by software engineers within that company, their employees. WordPress, it also has its own in-house programmers and employees, but they're also benefiting from the efforts of people like Thomas, these hundreds of thousands of outside developers who create amazing themes and plugins for the platform.
Okay, great. I appreciate that. And do you know if Keyword Spy is still useful?
I go there occasionally. I don't use it as my principal keyword research tool. Now, if I don't want to, I think I still have like a lifetime subscription to Word Tracker somewhere, which is professional grade. As a Solo Build It customer, I have access to the Brainstorm It tool within Solo Build It, so I have access to that. If I didn't, I think I could probably get by with Ubersuggest as my source of keyword research data. Something like Keyword Spy is, hey, it's another option. I don't think I'll plunk down money for it.
Okay, great. So Annette's wondering, she went ahead and purchased a domain name over the weekend. She knows that you mentioned we have to buy our domain name from SBI if they're going to use SBI, but she already purchased the domain name. Is there an exception to this? She was on GoDaddy to check different domain names, and the ones that she wanted were taken. So I'm looking to see if there's a second half to this question. And I'm not seeing it, but I think what she's asking is if she's purchased her domain, can she switch it to SBI?
She can, but there will be that period that I mentioned.
That time waiting, yeah.
And I can't remember what it is, but it's something like 30 days or 45 days or something before she can do that.
Okay, great. And are some themes better than others to use for website monetization? Do you know?
Some themes are better than others in terms of support. And when you go to a theme, when you're looking up themes, you'll generally see they have a star rating. So if it's a 5-star rating, that's cool. If it's a 3-star rating, probably not. The other thing you'll see written is like when it was last updated. If it was last updated a month ago, that's cool. If it was last updated 3 years ago, not so cool, because it means that the developer is no longer paying attention and supporting that theme. So if you're choosing a theme, you want to go with a 5-star theme where the most recent update was in the last month or two, because these are the guys who are totally active. Because stuff is constantly changing out there, and for a theme to function well, it has to be, the developers have to be on top of it. They have to be updating it.
I think it's important too to make sure that it's mobile friendly. Yeah, because most people are on mobile devices and tablets these days.
If it's a theme that is 5 stars and it's been updated recently, then you can be pretty sure it'll be mobile friendly. Because otherwise, it would not be a 5-star review anymore.
Definitely. So Tracy has a question about topics. She has a major passion for medical cannabis, but there are sensitivities with that right now. It's still federally illegal, and she cannot cultivate in her state. She believes it's trending massively. Will this work?
Tricky one. I don't know. I don't even know what Google thinks about it, or I don't know. I don't know whether she's done keyword research on that. I mean, because it is a very timely, very popular, much searched and researched topic. So I don't know what the state of play is with regard to keyword research. Like, I'm sure there's a ton of demand, but what's the competition? Can she find, again, I think you'd need to find a niche there. You'd have to find some keywords where you think, okay, there's enough demand here, but not too much competition. In terms of, I don't think you're breaking the law by, you may not be able to cultivate marijuana in your state, but I think you can still write a website about it. I don't think that's an issue. I think I'd be looking at that carefully in terms of, can I find a subtopic? Can I find a niche within marijuana? Because I think the straight-on marijuana topic is probably very, very competitive right now.
Right. Okay, good. Kathleen's wondering if there are plugins for Google AdSense.
No, it's not a plugin. With Google AdSense, you go to the Google site, Google AdSense, and they will give you a block of code which you will then add into the header area. It's a code block that goes into the header area of your website, whether you're in Seller Builder or WordPress or anything else. And again, you're gonna figure this out. You're gonna work your way through. And when Nick says paste this into the header area, what does this mean? You'll figure that out. It's part of the instructions in SBI. It's part of what you'll learn with WordPress. So no, it's not a plugin. It's code direct from Google AdSense.
Okay, great. So, sorry, here, the next question is asking about if you know about Builder All. Would you recommend it in place of Solo Build It, or do you have any experience with it?
Builder what?
Builder All, A-L-L.
No, never heard of it. So, no, I can't comment. I never heard of that.
Okay. Let's see. Ross plans to use Constant Contact from a lot of his promotion. Would either WordPress or SBI be preferable?
Say that again?
Ross is using Constant Contact for a lot of his promotion. So I'm assuming, Ross, that you're building a list of people who come to your site, and then you're sending them emails. So he's wondering if WordPress or SBI would be better to use for that.
If it's like based on email, like Cameron says, the Constant Contact is a newsletter email delivery service. It's kind of a weird question. I think the Seller Builder actually has a newsletter delivery functionality built in as part of that all-inclusive thing. Definitely, you can. Now, again, it may not be a plugin, but what happens is something called an API. And an API is where one piece of software can shake hands with and then communicate with another. So there will be an API for Constant Contact that you can use to connect that with your WordPress site. And then on Constant Contact, you would again get the code for your sign-up forms, the fields, etc., and you would paste that onto your WordPress pages. So definitely, for sure, I know that you can use Constant Contact with WordPress. You can pretty much use anything with WordPress. Hey, anyone who's developing anything, they know that a third of the world's websites are in WordPress, so they make sure that that it will function with WordPress. In terms of can you use that with Seller Builder, you probably can, but normally you wouldn't need to because Seller Builder has its own e-newsletter delivery function.
Okay, cool. Lawrence is saying that a good tool for finding domain names is Knowem.com. That's KNOWEM.com to see if domain used in variations on social media and other platforms. He's wondering if you use it.
No, I've never used it. I just go to GoDaddy and type in a whole bunch of words and see what's available.
Cool.
I type in a whole bunch of options and see what's available.
All right. And then SimilarWeb asks initial input criteria before Deborah can see competitors. How can she do this when she can't fill some of the fields they're requesting? Have you ever used SimilarWeb?
I have not.
Okay.
So I'm not really in a position. Have you?
All right. That'd be a good one to put on Facebook if other people are using it, and you guys can all.
Sure, ask that on Facebook, and we can all have a look around.
Definitely. Next question's from Christine. How often should I post for a blog website? Once or twice a week? Sorry if this has already been asked, but she's just wondering about frequency of posts.
I think once a week. I think, hey, if it's once every couple of weeks, that's fine. That's okay. I would encourage once a week. That means 50 new pages a year, which I think is a good target. If it's a couple of weeks, that's 25 pages a year. It's going to take you a while to really kind of build up a lot of pages that way. Hey, there are plenty of sites out there that create a blog post a day. There are some that create 5 blog posts a day. So whatever you can do, basically with a blog post, the more frequently you can do it, the better. But come up with a schedule that you feel you can do consistently. I was talking to a friend of mine who she just started her website, and she was doing a blog post every week. And then I had a look at the site, and I suddenly didn't see anything for like a month. And I said, "What's up?" She said, "Oh, I've just been busy." And I said, "Well, be careful, because if you got a fan base who are used to the fact that you publish weekly, and maybe they'll come back, on a fairly regular basis to find, your latest post, and then suddenly they come back 3 times and are disappointed because they've come back week after week, and there's nothing new, then maybe they'll stop coming altogether. So whatever schedule you come up with, try to be consistent with it.
All right, cool. And I don't know what this is. George is asking, is Bold Grid by WordPress worth looking at as a website builder?
Said again, is Bold Grid?
Yeah, it looks like he's saying Bold Grid by WordPress is a website builder. Is that something worth looking at? Do you know anything about it?
I don't, though I know that there are lots of all kinds of weirdness happening in the WordPress space, generally broadly described as builders, which are offering, and I know that WordPress itself is thinking of almost developing its own kind of theme layer for WordPress. But that specific one, no, I don't know of that. Some of those builder options, so WordPress recently, last year, did a complete update, the Gutenberg, like a whole new look and feel for using WordPress, which most of us kind of we didn't ask for it, we didn't particularly want it, and it's kind of made life a little complicated somehow. And then you get all these kind of block builder options, add-ons to WordPress, and on one of my sites I needed help with some functionality, and someone added one of those builder things, and I can't stand it, hate it. So that's not just like a theme, it's something a little different.
Okay.
So the builder things, my experience so far is I don't much like them, but I can't say that they're all bad.
Okay. Rita's asking what the best way to back up a WordPress site is.
There are plugins for that.
Okay.
I actually have my WordPress websites, the content of them, backed up to my Google Drive. Just happens every day. I set it to do that. Originally, it came to me by email, which was a pain because every morning there'd be this big file appearing in my email. And then I reset it to just save to Google Drive. So yeah, just go to plugins, search for backup, and you'll have a whole bunch of options. Again, look for 5-star.
Okay, great. Which plugin do you prefer, MailChimp or Constant Contact?
Well, like I say, it's not necessarily. I know that MailChimp do offer a plugin. Constant Contact, I don't think they have a plugin. I think that's an API connection. I've never used Constant Contact. I use 3 different email delivery services. One is MailChimp, which is fine. Another one is called GetResponse, which is fine. And another one is called, goodness me, I can't even remember what it's called, ConvertKit, which is much, much more sophisticated in terms of tracking. It's a bit like Infusionsoft, so it goes way beyond just email delivery. But yeah, MailChimp's fine. Constant Contact is fine.
Okay, great. Do you know how long it takes Google to crawl our sites and add it to their directory?
We will talk about that in a future week, but basically, if you publish your site today and then tweet or add to Facebook, or a friend adds to Facebook, hey, check out Jack's new site, Google will find that link very, very quickly. Google will go to your website and find the index page very, very quickly, and it will, your homepage, your basic domain, like jackswebsite.com. It'll find that page very, very quickly. It will index that page in the Google index instantly. Doesn't mean to say that on that first visit they'll index every page on the site. Could be they'll just come to the one page and make a note to come back another time. And that could be minutes, could be hours, could be days. So they will, as soon as you create a link that they can crawl and they can find your site, they'll go, oh, look, a new website. And they'll add it to that massive index. But like I say, it doesn't mean to say they're going to love you on day one. Doesn't mean to say that they're going to index all of your pages on day one. It takes a little time. Right.
Okay, great. And Kathleen wrote in, ConvertKit now has a free version. That's cool. Thank you. Carolyn wrote in regarding website topics. She keeps coming back to wanting to do something more social with her website that would include interviews and a personal side. What are your thoughts on that when it comes to monetizing the site?
Again, not an issue. We're all about creating content that attracts visitors. So long as you have pages, you can put elements on that page to monetize that attention and interest. It doesn't matter whether it's a video, whether it's photos, whether it's interviews, whether it's reviews, whether it's regular blog posts, regular articles, it doesn't matter. So long as you create pages that attract traffic, we can monetize it.
Okay, great. And this might be our last question. How do you know if anyone is reading or visiting your site?
You install Google Analytics. So once you've got your website, well, if you go to Solo Build It, you have a kind of analytics built in. So you can go to your traffic center and Solo Build It, and it'll show you how many people came to your site yesterday, what pages they came to, where they came from, etc. If you have a WordPress site, you go to Google again, set up your Google Analytics account, grab some code, drop it into the header area again in WordPress, and then tomorrow you can go to Google Analytics dashboard. It'll show you how many people came to your site. It'll give you a lot more detail than Solo Build It will. It'll give you more content than you can ever digest in terms of your traffic and where it's coming and how long it's staying on each page and which pages it's going to after the page before, and the geographically where those visitors came from, whether they were on a phone, whether they were on a tablet, whether they were male, whether they were female, whatever else they're interested in, and so on and so forth. And Google Analytics is free. At least there's a free version.
Okay, great. And that looks like all of our questions today.
I know where are we? We're almost at 4 o'clock. I hadn't even looked
Oh, no, wait, there's one more that I forgot. Sandra just wrote it in. Last one. She's decided on daretojournal.com. It has a little attitude using Dare, or thejournalmaven.com. She didn't want to use thejournaladdict.com. Plus, they're not too long. She's asking for feedback on the domain name. She has not purchased either one yet.
All right. I would put put it to the vote in Facebook. For me personally, I'd go for Dare to Journal. Like you said, it has a little attitude, a little bit of a challenge.
All right. Cool.
That's my vote.
Well, thank you, Nick. Yeah, add it to Facebook, Sandra, and see what people think. Cool.
And if everyone disagrees with me, then I'm not sure what to say. I don't know. I still vote for it.
I like the journal Maven, but only because I know the word Maven. Yeah, a lot of people might not know what Maven is, though. I just like it because I understand it.
It sounds like static to me. Dare feels like there's some action, there's some provocation.
Yeah, it does. I agree.
Provocation, there's a little attitude. I like that.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
We'll see. Put it to the vote, and then let us know what you go with.
Okay, great. Thank you, Nick.
All right. Okay, thank you. And we will, go through the next section, go to the next section in the course materials, and we will talk again next week. Okay bye-bye, everyone. Bye.